So we're going to start with a little bit of breath work today. And we're going to try and sit in Siddhasana. Which is the one where we take the feet wide and forwards and then just work on rotating the hips out gently. So we're just kind of rocking from sit bone to sit bone so that these thighs can rotate round and the knees can get a little lower. Get ourselves into a nice sitting position, really. Have the palms down so we can kind of help ourselves calm and relax and ground. I think probably all need that, even with all the good news that we're getting at the moment. We're still in the depths of lockdown. So we'll just spend a little time, wriggle out the spine, neck, shoulders, little head wobble, and then let the eyes close and the jaw soften. I'm going to start to just listen to the quality of the breath and see what it's doing. So we're not trying to change it, just trying to recognize it, become familiar. Looking at the rhythm, almost the texture of the breath, where it starts, where it sits, where it finishes. I'll begin to count the breath in and count the breath out. Do that for about 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out. If those numbers are regular on the in and regular on the out, then just allow yourself to breathe in, counting to the average, and exhale out to that same count. So we're not really breathing in as deeply as we might in terms of time, but we are breathing in and exhaling fully, but just with a different rhythm. Now we'll develop that further and bring the right hand onto the forehead, index finger and middle finger, and we'll use the right thumb to just drop off and close the right nostril. Now I tend to let the elbows sink in towards the chest a little bit more so the shoulder is relaxed. So if you need to do the same, you can. Or you can just use your opposite hand and place that underneath your elbow to give it a little bit of lift. So you're not taking all the strain of the weight in one shoulder. I'm still trying to breathe in for that same number. And breathe out. We'll take the next breath in through the left. Close and open the right to exhale. In your own time, breathe in through the right. Close, open the left to exhale. Inhale left. Close, exhale right. Now we continue. Take your final exhale out through the right. Let the hands come back. Take a couple of normal breaths. And we'll start to retain the breath at the top. So count the breath in. Hold for half of that count. Exhale out. Draw the breath in again. Count it in. Hold for half. And then exhale out. Just continue again. We'll breathe in and retain for the last time. Take the exhale. And then we'll just wriggle around a little bit. So you can recross the legs the opposite way if you feel that they're getting a little bit numb, but if you're happy to stay where you are, just take the fingers out to the side. And we can take a little side bend. So we'll go out to the left first of all, bring the hand flat to the floor, take the top arm up, and then lift up. Still trying to let those knees drop. They do want to join in desperately and lift up to the sky when we come into the side bend. We'll take one more breath here. Use the fingers to walk back up. Take a little breath out to the other side. And let ourselves lift again, just taking that hand up to 12 o'clock. We don't have to lean over and throw all the weight in. We're just really stretching out the spine, lengthening out the muscles in the shoulders down the side of the body. We'll come back again, so with fingers in. We'll take a surface stretch, so we'll just draw the arms up in line with the shoulders. We'll bring that right arm across and lock the left arm underneath and just draw the shoulder around gently. Sweep the arms out and cross over the opposite way. And release. Take a little twist. We'll twist round to the left, using the hands in front and behind a little bit to help. Looking over the back shoulder if that's easy on the neck. And then bringing ourselves to the front again, coming across the other way. And then we'll release from there as well. We'll take ourselves down to the floor. We're going to use the block behind the head to start with. It's going to be coming in and out a little bit, but we'll work with that. So knees high, hands behind. Roll gently back down to the floor. And bring the knees, or the heels rather, in towards your bottom, knees together. And bring that right knee in. We're going to take the hands around the back of the thigh. And just ease the knee in towards the armpit a little bit. Lengthen the left leg out down the center line. So starting to feel that in the back of the hamstring and the hip flexor a little bit. Toes flex towards the sky. I'm going to change the grip of the hands a little bit, take them around the front of the knee this time, but I'm going to cross the knee from the right side of the body a little bit more over towards the left as much as you can without actually lifting the hip off of the ground. So different people are going to have a different degree of mobility in the hip. We're just drawing that in. Worst case scenario is we have long muscles and the bones touching the bones, so just ease it in. If it's still moving, then you're still in the muscle area. If it's stopped, you've either run out of muscle or you've found some bone. One more breath here. And then we'll bring the knee back. Just let both feet come into the bottom again. Just as we did before, we'll take the hands around the back of the opposite thigh, so left leg, let that draw in, lengthen the right leg out, flex the foot, lengthen the leg out. And then, just as you did before, we just shift the hands a little bit and take the knee to the opposite side. You might notice difference between one side and the other. And then we'll bring the knee back. Just a bit of release there. And bringing both feet back in towards the body. I'm going to take the arms out nice and wide, in line with the shoulders. Feet are close into the bottom. I'm going to shimmy the hips a little over to the left. Let the legs go down to the right. A little bit of creaking going through the spine as we do that. And again, if the shoulders are on the floor and it's easy on the neck, you just turn the head the opposite direction. And we're letting ourselves sink into this. So we're trying to keep the feet, toes, knees, thighs, hips relaxed. And we'll take the knees one leg at a time back up. And exhale, recenter the hips and shimmy them to the right. Let the legs down to the left. Clickety, click, click, click as your spine goes. Now it is difficult to get that top leg to relax, but see if you can kind of connect your mind and your body together in that area and encourage it to release a little more. And again, one leg lifts, the other follows. Bring ourselves back into the center. We're going to take bridge pose, so we're going to take the block out and just put that between the thighs so we've got something to squeeze onto. Put hands down by the side of the body, have the feet about hip distance apart so the knees are knocking in a little bit. And draw the belly down, lower back into the floor, peel the spine away, let the hips lift up. Try and present the knees towards the front of the mat as you press the hands down a little bit. And we're going to bring ourselves into robot arms, so we'll bend at the elbows, palms face in, fingers stretch up towards the sky. You press the triceps, the back of the arms and the shoulders down into the floor to help lift a little more. And as you do that, try and press your buttocks and your thighs away at the same time. Try to keep the breath regular and smooth. It's quite a challenge, this pose, with pressing the arms and the shoulders back in this way. Last breath. And then we'll smoothly let the spine come back down to the floor. And release the arms, and we'll just move that block behind the back of the head again. I'm going to take the feet as wide as the mat, let the knees rock in, arms out wide, so it's a scissor version of the twist. We'll go left first of all. And we'll come back up and realign the feet if you need to, and take it over to the right. And we'll come back into the center. We come into happy baby. So just going to realign the spine. Take a little breath, draw the knees in towards the body. We'll just open up the hips a little bit more before we do that. So we're going to paint some circles with the knees in the air. Now, as you draw the knees in towards the body, as a little exhale, try and peel your tailbone away from the floor and draw it towards your body. And see if you can get that to happen just with the abdominals. Easy for the neck and the shoulder to join in. And quite often what you see is people's chins kind of being drawn towards the back of the mat. So we want to try and eliminate that. Get that little tummy tuck. One more time. And then we'll just stop with the knees out wide. Let the chin come into the chest so we can see what we're doing. Run the fingers down the shin bones, around the outside edge of the feet, keeping the knees low. Take one foot, then the other. And just let ourselves rest. Now, the closer the feet are towards the head, generally, the tailbone is a little bit more lifted. So if you can relax the shoulders and let the hands travel away from the face a little bit more, tailbone naturally moves a little closer to the ground. Now, I tend to rock a little bit from side to side in this pose. To be honest, I don't know if that's a natural reaction to breathing or just something that I've done for so long that my body kind of just does it without me thinking about it. But if you find a little wriggle from side to side, it feels nice in the spine, feels nice in the nerves, then it's fine. We've got about another sort of 45 seconds or so here. So this is quite a long time to be with the hands in this grip. If you find your fingers are starting to kind of lose the will to live, you can bring the hands down onto the shins and the ankles and just draw the arms down. So you're pretty much staying in the same position, just releasing the grip a little. And then wherever you are, just let the feet come in towards the groin. And release the spine out fully. It gives you some idea of how much of a curve you have as soon as you start to release the legs a little bit. And we'll roll over to the right side. Use the hands to press into the floor to lift up. It's a nice smooth movement. And let the legs out in front. Going to draw the block in. And we're just going to play with some seated twists here. So the first one isn't actually a twist, it's sitting up straight down asana, known as staff pose. So we're lengthening the legs out, flexing the feet back, but we're being careful that we're not pressing the knees down. So there's just tiny little micro bubble, I think they call them, of a bend. And then I'll have the fingers out to the side and just let the chest open up a little bit and lift up. So we're getting the round shoulder syndrome to move in the opposite direction. So we've got chest opening syndrome, which is a little bit easier for the breath. And I'm going to take the left foot now underneath and out towards the right hip. So this is called Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes, translates to. We're taking the right foot over and bringing that in close to the body. Taking the left hand up, crossing that over towards the right side. And just opening the body up a little bit. So I want to make sure both sitting bones are on the floor. Pelvis tilts forwards a little bit rather than rolling back. That gives us a longer spine and it makes it a little bit easier for the rotation. Probably helps with the breathing as well in the lungs, but not necessarily the diaphragm. And then we'll release from there. Untangle the legs. And let ourselves come into the second side. So it's really easy. Movements nice and slow. Taking time to settle into the body. Feel it. Get those sitting bones happy. And that right arm lift as we breathe in. Rotate round. Over to the left side this time. There's a tiny little bit of cantilevering between the arm and the front leg. And we can release from there as well. Take the legs out. Give them a little shake. Now, I'm going to come into a further twist, but before we do that, we'll take deer pose. So I'll take my left hand out to the side, draw the left foot round and out towards that right hip, and then bring the right foot back so that that shin just sits in the arch of the foot. I've got both knees down on the floor, and then I'm going to see if I can just bring the pelvis back into alignment. I'm going to use the fingers a little bit and shift around on my bottom, looking at the toes of my feet to help move the flesh around, just get those sitting bones a little closer to being even, and then sitting up nice and tall. And close the eyes again if you wish and soften the jaw. And taking less and less weight into the hands as the hips get flatter and squarer. So if you have got considerable lift, then you're still going to be taking quite a bit of weight into the fingertips. So it is dependent on getting yourself into that neutral spine. But it's about dropping this high hip down, letting it release down. Now we'll cross over to the other side. So we'll lean out to the left, untangle the legs, cross over, lean it out, hook the foot back, toes point backwards. Allow ourselves to have that little wriggle around. And then just starting to think about lowering the high hip down. I can feel what feels like a massive difference between one side of my body and the other in terms of this pose. Reality, it might be less than a quarter of an inch. And then we can let ourselves release from that side. And take the legs back out again in front. So we're going to try and have the legs straight down the center line, so the thighs and the toes are touching. Going to take a little breath. And we'll draw the right foot in. And we want to have a sort of a few inches gap between the inside of the foot and the thigh, so that the heel is more lined up with the outside edge of the sitting bone, more lining up with the hip joint. Bringing that foot in as close as we can, so right in towards your body, and then draw yourself up. So you can take the hands around the front of the knee a little bit and get very, very tall. I'm going to take a little breath from there. And then rotate around. This is quite big. Bring the hands into the similar place as we had before, one hand behind. Front leg lengthens out, toes up towards the sky. And the front knee really wants to be pointing up towards the sky. So the knee is not knocking in or rolling out to the side. So depending on whether your knee has cooperated and has centered itself naturally for you, you might have to be working through what muscles do I need to let go, what do I need to pull in, etc. So this is called Mariachasana, the pose dedicated to the sage Mariachi. And we'll release from there. Take the legs back out again. So again, start with the feet together. And then as you draw the left leg in, you know that we're looking for that gap. And then we're going to draw the knee in towards the chest. Sit up nice and tall. Again, you might find this easier on one side than the other because of just the differences in the muscle balance between one side of the body and the other. Sometimes that's due to skeletal differences, but it can be environmental as well. So something as easy as the fact that that is the foot that does the accelerator and the brake. So in that sitting position, the hip flexors work very differently on one side of the body to the other. So if you magnify that through all the things we do in the day, the fact that whenever you walk up the stairs, you're probably leading with the same leg, just builds up over the course of a lifetime. So this allows us to address those things a little bit. We'll take the breath, rotate in, take the hand over, lengthen it, little counterlevering, look to check the knee as upright as you can get. Lengthen out through the heel on the long leg. Now in pictures, this one always looks less dramatic than the other twists we did earlier, but I find this much higher intensity. And a few more breaths. And then we can release. Oh, that feels like a big pose for sitting still. I'm going to cross the ankles over and just let myself roll forwards a little bit. We'll take the block out. We're going to stretch the toes out. You haven't done that for a while. So sitting on the heels, hands on the floor, or if you wish to, you can take a little bit more weight and lift yourself up. Now, I won't be here too long, just another 4 or 5 seconds. So really quick. Bring the hands back down to the front of the mat, and you can untuck the toes and give them a little tap out. I'm going to draw the toes underneath again, just so that we can lift into a down dog. Walk the legs out behind us. So we're going to take a couple of little stepping moves in here. Just getting a little bit of movement into the hips, getting the legs to stretch out a little bit, transferring the weight through the shoulders from side to side, just a fraction as we do this. And then I'm going to be nice and steady and draw the right knee in towards the chest and bring the foot through between the hands to the front of the mat, lowering the back knee down onto the floor. I'm going to come up onto the fingertips and just check my front knee is aligned over the ankle. Using the hands onto the front thigh, I'm going to lift up and check everything feels comfortable. So relax the shoulders down, start to lift the body up out of the pelvis a little bit as I take the hands alongside the body. So I'm starting to feel really big stretch down that front thigh on the rear leg. We'll take the hands up towards the sky and bring the palms together, and then lock the thumbs together so the palms now face forwards like butterfly wings. We'll take a side bend over to the left and listen up out for a few breaths here. And come back into the center, slow on the rising. Cross the thumbs over the opposite way just to make it feel a little bit more unusual. And then we'll take the side bend out to the opposite side. Usually it's a slightly smaller version. You'll notice the front knee rocks in and out as we do these poses. We'll come back into the center. Let the hands come to the floor. I'll tuck the toe on the back foot and step it back into that down dog. It's just a transition as we take a breath here, and on the exhale we'll draw the left knee in, bring that through to the front of the mat, drop the back knee down onto the floor, bring the hands again onto the thigh when you're sure your knee and ankle position are sorted. Lift the body up, square the hips a little bit. They tend to sort of turn off to the side, so you're moving this hip, right hip forwards a little bit, left hip back. Once you lift up the hands to the sky, again we just hook the thumbs together. We take the side bend to the right this time. We'll try and lift a little bit more out of the pelvis. Come back into the center, cross the thumbs over the other way, and then extend slowly out to the side. Come back into the center, bring hands down. Tuck the toes on the back, we'll step it back. This time, we'll step it back. We're stepping forwards. Stepping forwards to the front of the mat. It's a nice forward fold. Just going to hang there for a moment. And bring the hands onto the hips. Lengthen the spine to lift up and flat back. We'll take the hands high as we breathe in. Bring hands in towards the heart. We're going to soften the knees over the toes a little bit, so have a look, make sure that's working properly. Take the weight into the left foot, slide the right foot back into the lunge. If you need to put your hands down onto the front thigh to feel a little safer, you can do. And then we'll try to lift the body up so the pelvis tilts into neutral. We'll take the hands up towards the sky, palms facing in. Now we're going to take the hands back in towards the heart. Hinge at the hips and bring both hands down onto the inside of that front foot. Walk the fingers round to the long side, so it's a slow alter. Turn the toes in a little more, be up on the fingertips. And then we'll place the right hand down onto the floor, directly underneath the chest and heart area. We'll take a little twist of the body to the left, slowly extend the left hand up towards the sky, breathing in. Bring the hand back down onto the exhale, swap over the hands, turn the body, and then lift the arm to the right. Bring it back down. And just repeating that. Come one more time to the front end. One more time to the back end. Bring the hands back down to the floor. We'll walk the fingers around to the front of the mat. Take a little breath. Step it in, some forward folds, and down. Bring the hands onto the hips. And let out, so slowly lift up. Take the hands high. Hands into the heart, soften the knees again. Take the weight into the right foot. And slide the left foot back into a high crescent position. So want the front knee over the ankle. Allow yourself to draw the body up, so tilting the pelvis, the tailbone is down. And the body feels like it's vertical. Allow the hands to lift up towards the sky. Again, bring the hands in towards the heart. Bring the hands onto the inside of that front leg as we come down slowly with control. Walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat. Turn the toes in again. Now this time we're going to fold, and we're going to fold deep. So turn the fingers so that they're coming towards us rather than away from us. The thumbs are out. Little fingers on the inside. I'm going to fold over, slowly walk the hands through towards the opposite side of the mat. And then see if we can press the palms down a little bit to the floor. Spread the fingers out, lift the hips. Be careful that the head isn't getting tucked in or lengthened away. You just want it to drop, following the natural line of the spine. The legs are pretty straight. They've got a little bit of micro bend in, but not too much. A few more breaths here. And then we'll walk the hands through again, turning them around, walking the fingers into the front end of the mat. Take a little breath. Step it into the forward fold and sink it down deep. And then bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees and a flat back to lift up. Shake out the legs a little bit. We'll take some balance work, so I'm going to turn side on and find something to focus on in front. Bring the toes together and bring the hands in towards the heart. So we're going to move from I would call this a low tree, low hanging fruit, low tree into kite. So I'll explain as we go through. Hands in towards the heart. We'll take the weight into the left leg. And I'm just going to start to bring the right heel from the floor. Let that right heel sit onto that ankle and turn the toes out to the side. So it's a toe balancing version of tree pose. Let's see if I can keep these hips nice and square so it feels like they're pointing the same direction as the foot and the knee. And I'm going to slowly lift the arms out. I'm going to have the palms facing forwards. I want the shoulders relaxed, but the arms strong, lengthening out. Nice big Y shape. I'm going to use those to help with balance. I'm slowly going to take the big toe off of the floor and extend the leg out to the side, pointing through the toes. Trying to keep the foot as close to the ground as I can, but without touching. This really works the muscles down the sides of the legs in the lower portions, from knee down to ankle and foot. If the foot touches the floor, that's fine, not a problem. You can bounce around as many times as you need, trying to find that perfect balance. Really just standing on one leg. Okay, we're going to release the hands down, bring the foot back in, shake it all out. Certainly gets the shoulders going. And then bring the feet back together again. Find your focus point. Start to shift the weight into the right foot. Left heel rises, finds the ankle, turns the toe out. A little check, making sure you're forwards bound. And slowly lift the hands up and out. When you're ready, on an exhale, you're going to lift the toe away from the floor and slowly lengthen the leg out. Point through the toes. You'll feel the muscles around the knees lift a little bit. The calf tightens. Try and keep the shoulders soft, strong arms. The tricky bit is getting that foot as close as you can to the ground without touching. Lean a long way away, it's actually easier. And so kind of find this natural point of balance. And then start to do the work. This version, the muscles are having to do everything for you. Toes are starting to grip on a little bit. And we'll release and shake it all out. Surprisingly tricky pose. We'll come back down to facing forwards, and we'll just bring the toes together. Heels a little bit of a gap. We'll soften the knees over the toes. Bring the hands down onto the thighs. Going to take the right hand onto the left thigh. Lift the left hand up, rotate around, and bring the hand onto the back of the sacrum. Just turn the body gently, let the head facing the same direction. Think about getting as much space between the pelvis and the crown of the head as you can. Lengthening the body. And we'll take that left hand back up. Bring it across, change it over. Let the right arm lift up. Rotate around. And we'll take that right arm up, lift it up, both hands on the thighs, and cross the arms, and let yourself lift up, and just shake everything out. We'll come back down to the floor, so we'll just simply bend the knees, let ourselves come in. I'm going to take the blocks just for a moment, bring that behind the heels, have the feet about the same distance apart as the block is wide, and then come into that squat. So I want the knees to be about the same distance apart as the feet, pointing forward. I'm going to place the back of the arms onto the thighs and then draw the body up long and let the belly come in a little bit. So I'm using the arms. It's a bit like we did with the bridge pose. We're pressing down, getting some length, still drawing the belly into the spine. So if you don't get hot enough doing a squat as it is, this is a way of doing it with a bit more heat. You feel the muscles lengthening out in the back as you start to work them. Last breath in. You can release, relax. Whew. Take the legs out in front. Bring the right heel into the groin, knee out to the side, little bend in the knee, flex the front foot. Square the hips, bring the hands onto the shins for Janya Shirshasana. Folding down gently. And then we'll use the hands to lift back up. Cross it over to the opposite side. Fold deep. And then we'll release from there as well. So I'm going to take the block towards the back of the mat. Might not be using it straight away. I'm going to come into a reclined twist. So let ourselves sink down gently. Head flat to the floor to start with. You're going to take the arms out wide. Lift the left leg up towards the sky. Turn the toes out, bend the knee, and bring the ankle to the outside of the thigh. So it's that figure four position. I'm going to keep the foot flexed just as I would normally and let my left knee move towards the front of the mat. Just shimmy my hips over towards the left a little bit and let the legs come down to the right. So try and have that left knee point towards the sky. And flex the right foot a little bit. So the foot that's on the floor closest to me, that's relaxed, just pressing the sole of the foot down to the ground. Other leg, distant leg, the foot is flexed a little bit. And then we'll lift ourselves back up. Bring the hips back into the center. Just send that leg up to the sky and give a little shake out. Take the other leg up, same. Bend the knee, flex the foot. Let the knee travel forwards, a little shimmy to the right, legs go to the left. So nice exhale to draw us in, keeping that bottom foot flexed. And come back into the center. And extend that leg out once you've centered yourself. Bring the foot down. Let the block come back underneath the back of the head. And we've got a nice few minutes in Shavasana. So hands down by the side of the body. Slide the heels out, corner edges of the mat. Let the legs lengthen out. Extra layers on it if you need them, if you're getting them chilly. And then just relax down with the eyes closed and the jaw soft. Gently start to stretch the fingers and toes. Push the ankles. Breathe a little deeper. Stretch it out. And slide a heel at a time in towards the body. And take a final little hug. One knee circles, whatever feels good. And then we'll let ourselves roll very gently on an exhale over to the right side. Take a couple of breaths here, drawing ourselves into a little ball. And then rest the hands gently into the floor to lift yourself back up. Let the hands come in towards the heart. Take a breath in as you close your eyes. Let the chin drop. Draw the belly to the spine and bow gently to the floor, sealing your practice for the morning. Let the breath come back in. Build your spine. Lift your head. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for gentle yoga. See you soon.